Right, we've gone live. Anyway, we'll start with my position, which is gas the pedos.
Oh, great. Well, see, that's the whole problem, though. Is that the only group we're actually talking about?
No, I just said that as a joke.
I know that, but that's the issue.
I'll start my position. Gas the children.
Jesus Christ. That'll just solve the problem. You know, you can't molest children if there's no children to molest.
One without the other. Wait, that's not true, but...
Anyway, I know there was things that you all wanted to talk to me about, so go ahead.
Oh, my position is, just to elaborate, is that lolicon is a moral good.
Wouldn't know about that moral part, but you know, I just don't find it very moral.
I do.
Well, I would say whether or not it is moral depends on the harm it does. And yeah, it's disgusting, and I'm willing to grant that it's disgusting, but it doesn't hurt anyone. So,
well, my position to you, Auntie, would then be, if I can prove that video games cause something, whatever it is, let's say a rise in violence or anything, causing aggressive feelings, how would you say that we should regulate against that?
I do think that stuff like that should be regulated from children. I do think stuff like that should be age-gated. Like, stuff like that absolutely should be. I think any pornographic content should be age-gated at the very least.
Well, I would say, in response to the video games comment, I would say that video games, if they correlated with something like increased child aggression, that wouldn't...
I didn't say child aggression. I said aggression.
Aggression. If they correlated with aggression, I still think the regulation of such a medium would be more harmful than good, so I still wouldn't want it regulated.
Well, then, therefore, anything involving loli would be the same, because there is no means by which that you can actively regulate it.
Well, there is a way you could regulate it. Like,
no, there isn't.
Both. We do it right now in Britain. They regulate loli by making it illegal.
Sure, but is it actually enforced?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, man went to prison for it.
Yes, it is enforced.
And funnily enough, the court understood that it wasn't real, and he would have got an increased sentence, because he got like a 9-month suspended sentence because it wasn't real, and if it was real, he would have got a bigger one.
Yeah.
My point isn't to say that there's a single selective case that's used to scare people. My point is that is it actually true that if I were to buy something that would be loli, let's say from J-List or whatever else, it would be shipped to me, would I then be arrested?
In the UK, yes, you would be. There was even
so they get every case, they get every person.
Not every single day. just because they don't actually catch every single criminal, that's like saying murder's not regulated.
My point is that they don't. You have a single case that you can cite. You're not citing statistics to me of the many cases of lolicon that have been caught and punished within the UK.
Well, see,
my point is this, because the thing is that it's inconceivable that it'll ever be actually enforced.
Your question is it regulated? Yes, it is. Now, regulation doesn't mean it has a 100% success rate. Like even murder. Think of how much fucking police time goes into and resources go into solving murder, and even murder isn't 100% success rate.
But that's the difference between citing a totality of cases versus a single case.
Your question was, is it regulated? Well, the answer's yes. I don't know why you're disputing that.
Because it isn't. The laws are on the books, but it's not actually regulated.
Okay, it's not regulated.
It's more than regulated.
Yeah, it's that legislation is regulation.
Well, then I guess I should change it to, is it actually enforced beyond a single case that you can cite? Can you cite statistics?
Yes, it is. Anytime guys are actually caught with child porn on their computer, see when they find lolly on there as well, the lollies count towards the charges. There was even a guy who was arrested. In fact, there's been a few now who have ordered those child sex dolls from abroad. Basically, those actually get intercepted at customs, and then the person who ordered it gets arrested. That's happened a few times now. That's a new thing that's coming in.
Also, a little bit of a different thing, but I think that it does speak to That is actual enforcement.
Right, this is the case. See if the police walked into my house right now and found lolly on my computer, I would be arrested. That's just the way it works. It's called a pseudo photograph.
Fair enough. Well, then I guess we can move to the second thing. Is that a moral good?
What, banning lolly?
No, arresting people and jailing them for images and blow-up dolls.
I have moved on from my original position. I don't think it helps the person. Like, one thing that they've pioneered in Scandinavia is see if someone is a paedophile, they can go to the authorities and basically say, I am sick, I need help. And they can actually get mental institutions to help them get over it, which is something I completely support. I'd be more than happy for tax money to be used to basically help these people. See if someone is non-offending, you know, I don't know how it works. We'll see how someone says, I am just born this way, I can't help it. That maybe that is the case. Maybe well, I don't know if it's something that is developed or if it is something you're inherently born with. But even at that, if someone is non-offending but they want to get over the sickness, because I see it as a sickness, if they want help to get over that, then I'm more than happy for them to do that, and I hope they get better.
Well, I think that's mostly besides the point. You know, I can just say that I agree, but I think that's besides the point of what we're, you know, actually discussing. Because we're not actually talking about pedophiles.
We're talking about lolly.
Should
it be legal? Should it be illegal?
Sexual attraction to children is paedophilia. Doesn't matter if it's drawn or an actual photograph. If you're looking at a drawn picture of someone who is 10 years old and you're masturbating to that and you get off to that, that's attraction to an underage child. Like, that's paedophilia.
Perfect.
That makes you a pedo.
How do you perceive the person to be 10 years old?
We'll see that I've said that in the video that I made in my response to Charming Man. See if it's, because see, back when I did the debate with Am or She, I actually got in my emails some guys who were self-confessed paedophiles who were non-offending. Like, I hope they were telling the truth about that part. And I had a bit of a back and forth with them, and they said, because I said something along the lines to one of them, why don't you just go for women who are of age, who just, you know...
I know. It's because it's the age. I get it.
It's the age that does it, but it's a case of, see if there is a drawn picture that specifically states this person is underage. That's what the paedophiles go for, which is why they don't go for, like, you know, women who are of the legal age that have small frames or childlike bodies, which do exist. They go for the age. The age is the draw for them.
I think you're misunderstanding me. With age, actual age of an actual person, that is an objective measure. It doesn't mean that necessarily that age of consent is an objective standard. But what I'm saying is that age is objective. We all have a birth date that can be measured.
Yeah.
In relation to images, photographs, how do you know the age of the person in the image?
Well, the artist usually states so. That's the thing, is you don't know.
So if you have a lowly vampire that is 1,200 years old, does that actually make the character 1,200 years old and therefore legally compliant?
Well, that's the thing is as well, like, the artist would sort of decide that is
right. Do you think it's just the recipient that's just going to be jailed, or do you think it's going to be the artist too?
Well, the artist. Well, see if the artist draws an image, because that's in part of the Protection of Children Act as well. Anyone who creates an image of an underage child, they get prison too. Yep.
So that's the issue, is who decides the age. And this is my whole point about regulation and it being unenforceable and unjust, is it's just some random censor. They are the one that gets to decide the age of the image.
Exactly. And my point about the Germaine Gray book was, should she therefore be put in jail because she was using actual 14-year-old boys or 16-year-old boys?
And that's not a bad point either, because in the United States, despite our laws, there's plenty of things that violates Supreme Court precedents in terms of things that are regulated against specifically, and yet these people never go to jail. This is my whole thing about enforcement and regulation, is that
some countries are lazy about it, some aren't.
Yours is as well. I guarantee you if I really looked into it, that, because bro, you don't even regulate against fucking Muslims raping your children. You're expecting me to believe that you actually strictly enforce lolicon in your country? I highly doubt it.
We don't really like. Yeah, I don't know how that refutes what we're talking about. Whether or not it's it is regulated. It is regulated. It's just not done at 100% success rate.
That's not the point. It's not about success rate. It's whether or not the government and the regulators in question actually take it seriously.
Right. See the way it works, right, is see if the police find it, they take it seriously. They don't see the police see actual child porn. The police take that really fucking seriously. They take that really, really fucking seriously.
Are we talking about child porn or are we talking about lolicon? Because there's a difference in terms of who's actually involved, whether it's an artist or it's a child.
One is actual, one is simulated.
Well, you do realize why they would take actual child pornography seriously, don't you?
Yeah, because it has actual people being harmed. I've acknowledged that.
Yes. Well, that's the issue, is what's actually taken seriously versus what isn't. But even then, getting back to my point about the artist in question, is one of the reasons why I take such issue with this is that it's up to them what the actual so-called age is to be perceived as in the image, because they are the ones that are drawing or illustrating the physical and social cues that would indicate age, which is how everyone perceives these images. It's nothing objective. There is no objective standard. It's just, how do you perceive this character in the image? How do you determine their age? And it's based on physical and social cues that are by design from the artist.
I think
nothing else.
It'd be the author. If the author, like the author or artist themselves, states it, if an author writes in a book, this is Graham, he is 18 years old, that's not exactly open for interpretation, is it? The author's fucking said so.
Well, what if the artist draws hardcore pornography that is a 1200-year-old lowly vampire?
I've already answered that, man. Like, it's the age that pedos go for. The age is the draw. So see if the person is being drawn who is of the legal age, even in a ridiculous manner of being 1200 years old, then I don't have an issue with that. Because in my conversations that I've had with pedophiles, the age is the part that adds a completely different element to the content. The age is the draw.
I think it has a lot more to do with the physical cues and the social cues than it has anything to do with, like, specifically they're reading lines of text, and because it says 14, like, that is specifically what gets them off. I think it actually is the images and what's displayed.
In my conversations, I'll admit that it was only 5, and I did admit that in the video. With the 5 that I spoke to, they said to me that it was the age. Like, that was the draw. Okay, 5 people is not,
but it's specifically their perception of the age of the character. That is what it is. Like I said, I don't believe that it's just because if it was just specifically the age itself, then they would get off to reading lines of text. I'm not saying that's impossible, but what I'm saying is that
erotica's got a huge industry, man.
Sure, I'm not denying that. But my point is that if they were to have their choice between, explicit images of drawn characters versus just lines of text, they are going to go with what they perceive to be children in the images, not just the lines of text.
Well, you see, the thing is, in British law, what is determined as a child in these drawings is anything under the age of 18. So that includes people of the age of consent in this country, which is 16. So 16 and 17-year-olds are considered children. This is part of the Coroners and Justice Act of 2009. And the problem with this is that it can easily include graphic novels like Lost Girls and Watchmen and other Japanese mangas or even Western graphic novels. So even they could be considered lolicon by this law. And it seems to me that it's really more of a obscenity law than it really is anything to do with protecting children. I mean, you can even get in trouble for owning lolicon under the Obscene Publications Act, but then you would have to be judged by the jury. The jury would have to decide if it's depraved and corrupt, and you should go to jail for it.
If you're lucky enough to get a jury.
Exactly.
Well, that would be my point in this, is that I would think that in large part, knowing what I know about the judicial system, regardless of whatever country we're talking about, that most of this is just going to be, if they catch you with Loli, they're going to haul you into a back room somewhere, and they're going to say that we're going to crucify you unless you take our plea deal. And I would say that that's just about every case that's been.
That doesn't happen if we don't do the whole plea deal thing here in Britain. That doesn't happen here.
Well, then what would be the measure by which that they would be able to strong arm you? I guarantee you that not every case goes to court.
It's dictated in the actual law and act itself. It basically says, if you are convicted of this crime, you can be sentenced from, it will say a fine of up to this amount, community service of up to this length, or a prison sentence, and then it just shows, the range of which you're allowed to do it, and then it will say or a combination of all three. That's the way they work it.
I don't mean sentencing. I mean prior to that, like guilt or innocence. Is that always decided by trial?
Well, it's the fact is it's possession. Possession is the thing. Like if it's on your computer.
No, how are you convicted of that? What is the process of you being convicted of that?
Well, what would usually happen is, the police may, a lot of police, I'm hoping, monitor a lot of websites that contain this stuff. If you download it, then they most likely, know your IP address, know the address it's registered at. They may come to your house with a search warrant, confiscate your computer, and then search your computer. If they find it on your computer, then you would be arrested for it. It's the same as, the police search your car and find a bag of cocaine. It's your car, an illegal item was in something that you own, you would be arrested.
Okay, it's good. It's a little bit too technical. It's kind of besides the point, so just move on. My point was to determine guilt or innocence, but it's kind of besides the point.
Well, it'd probably be the same way. If you had drugs in your pocket, they were in your pocket. They were in your premises. That's the way that they do it.
But it has to be. It actually has to go before a judge. There's a prosecution that's involved.
Yes.
And there's the determination of guilt or innocence, and it's either going to be a matter of, you copping to it, you taking the plea deal of pleading guilt with the idea in mind that you're going to be shown some sort of leniency in sentencing, or it going to trial to dispute guilt or innocence.
Okay.
Well, my point is that how is that done? Because you said that there is no plea deal process.
There's just the same way as in any court. Like, it's just a prosecutor will argue and say that you're guilty. Your defense lawyer will argue and say that you're innocent. That's
to whom?
To the judge.
And that's it.
I'm not sure what you do. Do you know how courts work? Like, I don't know why I'm having to explain an actual legal process. Like,
yeah, I do know. You're the one that's disputing what I'm saying to you.
I'm not. What have I disputed?
Okay, if you plead not guilty, is it just the judge, or is there any attempt at a trial?
No, the judge hands down your sentence. If you go, I am guilty, the judge goes, that's cool. I sentence you to this. That's what happens.
Well, it's actually, I guess it's just the difference between the United States and the UK then, or Scotland.
Yeah, no, you no matter what happens, you will end up in front of a judge.
Yeah, I know.
It depends. See for very, very minor crimes, like really, really minor crimes, what they will do is they will usually just send you out a letter saying, if you just plead guilty, you'll get this fine. But that's for like minor stuff, like see if you get into a fight. But see if it's something like of that nature. Basically, see if it's a sexual related crime. Like, this is classed as a sexually related crime. If it's a sexually related crime, you will go to court. You will not get one of those letters. Like, you will go to court if it's one of those types of crimes.
So I take it that what you're saying then is that this is just going to be like a misdemeanor court then, rather than like an actual felony charge in the full process. No,
we don't have grades like that. I know you have misdemeanors and felonies. We don't really have grades. It's just, did you break this law, and then just that's it. Like the severity of the certain law you've broken is just sort of down to just personal judgment, really.
Okay, well let's steer away from this.
Okay.
So, I guess getting back to the actual topic at hand, in relation to this artwork, we're going to have to come up with some sort of position of having to justify the laws as they exist now, and from that, even if it's just personally, like regardless of the law, how this is something that would be justly enforced, something that is philosophically defendable. Like you can actually defend what is being done, because I think that the censorship of art or the regulation against art using the legal system is morally indefensible, because there's no way that it can actually be fairly enforced.
I have moved my position in regards to art. It's just, see, lolly, to me, like, pedophilia, even simulated pedophilia, is just a very touchy subject for me personally.
I mean, that's fine, but you're going to have to detach yourself. Like, I understand that you personally may have
you say that like it's easy, man. Like, I've worked with kids that have suffered some of the most horrendous shit you could ever imagine. So see, for me to not be emotionally invested in it, like, I'm not saying that I'm not trying, but it is a very, very difficult thing for me to do.
So what would you define as simulated child porn? Just so we can...
It'll be lolly. If lolly, you know, could be drawings, 3D images of kids where it's specifically stated that they are underage.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the age that you would say would be for you the line of like going from something borderline inappropriate to something that is legitimate inappropriate? What would be the age?
Well, for me personally, I would say that 18. 18, I don't think you should be depicted in any kind of pornography unless you are in fact 18 years old.
Is that even the age of consent in?
Yeah, but and the age of consent in the UK is 16. But there are laws where, like, even if two 16-year-olds are having sex, like, see if they make it, you know, if they film each other fucking, they can actually get charged for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's just the way it works. Because even though like you can have sex, you technically are still a child, so that would be classed as manufacture of child porn. So you're not allowed to do that.
Would you defend that?
No, I don't think they should be doing that. No, if they're 18, if they're 18, then yeah, film yourself. Do whatever the fuck you want. 16, 17-year-olds though, no.
So you think that's justified to prosecute two 16-year-olds who are having sex and filming it?
It's not something I would like to see people like that doing.
It's not a matter of, like, I would say that it's stupid too. And I think there's a lot of things that underage people do that's stupid. But I'm just trying to understand, like, do you think they themselves, like, if I took that video or hacked their account and stole that video and distributed it and made money off of it or whatever, I could understand that. But what I'm saying is that, do you believe the people that film that should be prosecuted when they are themselves underage?
No, I don't think see what people do in their bedrooms, that's their business, right? That is their business. However, in the eyes of the law, they have created child porn, even if they are 16.
Yeah.
In the eyes of the law, they have created child porn. Which, I don't, even if it is like fucking consensual, but don't get me into that fucking consent argument. I literally had that fucking dipshit Amoshi in here trying to argue with me that babies can fucking consent because he's a fucking retard.
But in the case of the 16-year-olds filming themselves, enforcement of that being illegal would be punishing the 16-year-olds. So the law is like, it's intended to protect them, and it cannot do so. The only thing it can do is then punish the 16-year-olds.
It just seems a little bit absurd to me. That's all I'm saying.
Because like there are instances here in the United States where people have taken lewd pictures of themselves when they were underage, and then were prosecuted for
that happened in America. Didn't it? That happened in Texas. It was I think it was a 15-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl were sending each other nudes or something, and then the cops ended up getting involved, and I think they get charged. I don't know for certain about that case, but I think I heard something about that.
Right, but the relevant point here is that this does happen, and the law that covers that is meant to protect children. But when it is the instance where a child wasn't coerced and did this by themselves, it's bad for them to do that. I would not suggest it, but you are not protecting them by
you're prosecuting them. This is just really, the sort of icing on the cake of artwork regulation against artwork being absurd. In that, because the whole thing with child pornography in the United States, the standard by which that I think makes sense and that I can defend, although it has its own problems, is the Ferber standard, which requires there to be a victim in the issue of the artwork that's being disseminated. There's also the issue of dissemination, and that's also factored into the standard. But the fact that there's a victim involved, that they can't possibly consent, and it's being distributed by somebody that is utilizing that for the sake of sale. And in this case of like kids being prosecuted for a law that's meant to protect them, it just seems a little bit absurd to me. And it kind of is a glaring issue to say why regulation of artwork is just, there is no defense of it.
I don't personally, I don't feel it should be regulated. I just really, really fucking hate it. I just really fucking hate it.
That's fine. That's fine, dude. And I can sympathize with your position of being involved with kids and not wanting to see them be abused. I think that's something that's perfectly defensible and that I don't take issue with remotely. And that, like I said, I sympathize with specifically because I think it makes it harder for you to take a more principled position on this, knowing that, that these kids could be abused. But my issue is with this is that the more examples that are given of the actual enforcement of these laws that are meant to protect kids, it only illustrates the fact that these laws are absurd.
Well, I think not letting 16-year-olds film themselves is more to protect them from themselves. Because how many times have you seen fucking revenge porn and all that type of shit fucking crop up? Like, I'm fine with 16-year-olds not being allowed to film themselves. Again, that's not, like, they are allowed to eventually do that. That's not censorship. They're not being permanently banned from doing something. They just can't do it at that age, the same way you wouldn't let a young kid drive a car.
But wait, when it comes to the 16-year-olds filming themselves, and you're saying that shouldn't be allowed, okay, by what mechanism do you enforce that in such a way that you aren't also hurting the children? Like, especially if the law is to protect the children.
Because there's potential for them to cause damage to themselves. It's the same reason you don't let children drink. What if that video got out?
No. You'll be destroying them either way. If you were to give me the option of that child porn existing, arguably just child porn existing, versus sending those kids to juvie and ruining their fucking lives, I'm okay with the child porn existing. That's fucking ridiculous of a standard to set, that we're going to prosecute underage people. Fuck their lives forever. Because you understand like what a criminal fucking record does to your life? Like
to what extent did I say it should go?
Well, that's the enforcement mechanism. You have to prosecute them. You've created a law. They have to be prosecuted.
Or why not just get it banned and deleted off the fucking internet and no charges have to actually be levied? I never said anything about that. I said it being banned. I didn't say anything about punishment.
So then, instead of that, it would just be the Sisyphean task of a bureaucracy of censors that would permanently be running around trying to delete things of which there's no penalty.
Okay, hold on. There's a misunderstanding here. We are not arguing that such material should be like legal to be distributed on the internet. The position that you made, Dank, was that the 16-year-olds should not be legally able to engage in this act. And like, we're talking about whether or not they can do the act. And if they can't do the act, how do you stop them from doing the act? And the answer is legal regulation. You do something to the children. You give them a fine. It goes on their record. You imprison them.
It doesn't have to be punishment. The police give cautions as well that don't even stay on your record for that long. Like, most employers can't even access your cautions unless they do a really advanced background check, which you only really get if you're joining something like the police or high-end government jobs. right? Literally, see the amount of times that the police can just go to your door and go, stop that or delete that, and just that's it. It's left there.
I'm not too sure how good of a system I find that to be either.
Well, that's what the police. That's what the police do.
The police knocking on your door, going like, "Hello, sir. We see that you've been doing this thing. We need you to stop that." I'm not really sure if I like that idea either.
Okay then. Hello, sir. We noticed that you've been getting really, really, really fucking drunk and driving your car at 100 miles an hour. Could you stop?
No, that's a crime.
Well, the difference.
Drunk? No. If Dankula, if you go out, get drunk right now, and go drive a car, you're telling me you wouldn't be arrested? You're telling me they just be like, hey, how's it going?
How do you regulate that? I bet it isn't regulated.
They prosecute you. They prosecute you, and you go to fucking prison.
Yeah, they do.
But hold on.
Yeah, they do.
That it is a crime isn't a good argument. But drunk driving should be a crime because you are endangering someone else. That's not the case with the underage people filming themselves.
Absolutely.
They are putting other people at risk. So, but that it's a crime is not a good argument.
Look, this is the thing is I've already stated my position that type of art, right? I fucking hate it, but I don't think it should be regulated, right? Because it is art, and if I want to remain principled, then I should support for art to be completely free, okay? But I can assure you, it's not a hill I'm going to fucking die on. If you want to argue the case for lollipop, Louis, then you can do that.
So you're going to pragmatically concede to the censors? You're going to pragmatically concede to the censors? Like Sargon?
Charming man, you did a full reply to my video. Yeah. I literally said this at the very end of the video. You've seen the video. You wanted to debate me on a point that I already conceded to. That's what you wanted to do. That's why I was like, yeah, fuck it, we'll have a chat. But no, but then everyone kept arguing, going, you said this and you said that. It was the same when your reply video, where you fucking spent the first half arguing about a statement that I retracted.
Well, the thing is, your retraction didn't read like a retraction.
I don't think
it did.
Right.
I don't think you read
See what I said?
Hold on. That's not my fault you did it, Paulie.
No, I did it poorly. No, it's just you're too fucking retarded.
I'm too retarded now, am I?
Yes.
Really? You're going to start with the ad-homs.
No, see what I said, right? See what I literally said? It's literal child porn. And then everyone went,
it's not a free speech issue.
Jesus
as
Christ.
Well.
Let me finish, man.
All right, I'll let you finish.
I said it's literal child porn. You kept saying it's not literal child porn. It's cartoons. It's this, it's that. Even though I made a tweet where I said, okay, I'll meet you in the middle. It's simulated child porn, which it is.
But you did not then talk about
a retracted
free
statement.
Speech issue.
And then at the very end of the video, I said it was. You did a response.
You didn't really say outright whether or not it was. I
literally said it is. I went. I said art should. I said art should be free.
Look, I also responded to Dank's video, and the end of the video is him saying that he knows that he should be defending art, and that he concedes that Lolly is not literal CP. He made that retraction in the video, and he did do that on Twitter.
But that's besides the point. The issue of literally is or isn't is besides the point. The second half of the original tweet, to me, is the entire point of this.
Yeah, and then
is it free speech? That to me is the most important part.
In my video, I acknowledged that it was.
Then it's covered.
I don't like it. Right? Basically, when the fucking first thing got dropped, I got butt mad. I got really angry because I don't fucking like it. Right? I admitted that. I admitted that online. I admitted it in the fucking video. But yet, here we fucking are.
Well, this is why this is why I'm willing to defend it, because I do believe it is covered under free speech, and as a principle, I defend it.
Yeah, well, I'll say that it's covered under free speech, but it's definitely not a hill I'm going to fucking die on. Right? See if anybody wants to attack Lolly. Tell you what, I'll take a back seat on that, and you do it, Lolly.
That's fine.
I'll defend free speech with politics and all that. That's the hill I'm willing to die on. Free speech and politics, free speech with conversation, amongst everyone in society. That's the hill that I'm happily fucking dying. That's the hill I'm happily going to jail for. But see if people want to, draw underage kids, you can take that one. You take that one for the team.
Yeah, that's fine. Because if let's say I would be prosecuted under that. I don't actually possess any material that would likely get me prosecuted for it. But if I did, I would fight it, because I know that if I had the money, I could go to the Supreme Court in this country and win on that case. And I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of me dying, quote unquote, on that hill, because I do believe that I'll be fighting for something that is something that I should defend as a principle, because it is just art, and any regulation that does exist against it is completely laughably absurd. It is not fairly enforced. It's not justly enforced. There is no defense behind it other than moral grandstanding and obscenity, which is obscenity is just the idea that if I show this to a regular person who's among his peers, is that actually something they're going to defend? The answer is no. And that's just appeal to popularity. And it's just peer pressure of people dictating what's right versus what's wrong. And I don't think that's any kind of fucking standard that we should have in the first world. And that isn't free speech. For what's politically correct to draw, that's not free speech.
Boys, I know that this is something completely separate from what we're talking about, but I've got people DMing me right now. Stan Lee just died.
No way. Really?
No, legit, he actually did. I googled it and it's fucking everywhere. Like, Stan Lee died.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
We're not laughing at his death. We're just like,
where the fuck did we go? I'm laughing because I'm just like, what kind of conversation is this?
I know. We're not laughing at his death. It's just like, it's awkward.
So back, if I'm to distract from the Stan Lee death for a second, in regards to whether or not like this is something that you would defending, you don't need to defend it. I think it's acceptable for you to not defend this. I would say, however, that if you don't defend it, that is setting a not great like it being illegal is a not great legal standard, because it's saying that something that has not been demonstrated to hurt someone is grounds to make that thing illegal. Like, that's not a good legal standard to have. It is a drawing. Yeah. It did not require anyone be hurt in order for it to be created, and its possession is not hurting anyone. It is speech, and it should be protected. You don't need to take up that banner, but it is something that, like, the standard itself is something that I would think you would want to protect.
Yeah, I've said that. Okay. I do recognize it as a form of art, but it is something that I really don't like it.
And
I don't. And I would probably advise people, like, you know, I wouldn't ever restrict a person's freedom to look at it. I would never like ban their ability to look at it or masturbate to it. But if anybody were to ask me, I would say I advise that you don't look at that and you don't masturbate to it. Personally, that's what I would say, right? But I wouldn't ban it or make it illegal.
And I think we're on the same page in that regard, that it's not palatable. It's not something we would ever encourage anyone to participate in. But the regulation of it, were it to be enforced, would cause more harm than good.
Yeah, I think as soon as you start, see how that we talk about all the time, where does the line get drawn?
There's no reason why they can't extend it, yeah.
Exactly. Like, it's the case of, you know, see how, like, what Jordan Peterson said in his Joe Rogan thing, where the government encroaches a little bit, and then whenever you get angry, they stop, and then when everything calms down, the government will encroach a little bit again. They've been doing that more and more with hate speech.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where's the line drawn? So, like, that's fine.
Well,
we can consider lolly art to be the canary in the coal mine, then.
Yes, it is. It is. It absolutely is. And this
the
is
canary in the fucking degenerate coal mine.
You know what's even crazier? They can accidentally make things illegal. Like with that law that I mentioned before, things like Lost Girls could be considered illegal, technically speaking, just because of their incompetency.
Is it all right if I read super chats? By
Well,
the way?
real quick, there is no competency. There's never going to be a level there's never going to be a law, and there's never going to be an enforcement mechanism that can actually enforce what I'm discussing here, what I'm talking about. It will never exist. It is inconceivable because it has never existed. Never in the history of human civilization has there ever been a law that is accurately and fairly enforced art regulation. Never. And there never will be. Because it's even more subjective than speech. This is one of my big issues with this is even with speech, I find that the enforcement of it to be laughably absurd, but even speech is more objective to regulate against than art. Art is purely perception based, and that's it. And it makes it absolutely ridiculous to me that anyone could even qualify this to say that. And that's why I say there is no defense of this. This is indefensible. Because it's all going to be perception based of who the censor is. Who's the one that pulls the trigger and imprisons somebody? That's going to be whose standard by which someone is prosecuted.
I agree with that. I don't think anyone, no state, nation, government, corporation should have that power. I don't feel like, because in order for stuff like that to actually be established, then arbiters have to be appointed. And
exactly.
At the end of the day, are human and will err towards their own biases.
And the thing is with the moral aspect of this is, do you think that this issue of lolicon, which you find to be morally repugnant, do you think that if given the opportunity, prosecutors who in the United States are purely just politicians, that's who prosecutors are in the United States. I can't speak to your nation, but in here, they're all fucking politicians and they love the morally grandstand. If you were to catch somebody with lolicon, would that not be the easiest fucking thing for a prosecutor to grandstand on and prosecute someone over? Can you think of something that is even more easy to prosecute somebody for? Anything.
Hold on, I've got a text-to-speech. Right, I'm just gonna power through these super chats just now. I'm just gonna pound through these super chats like Louis pounds through kids. I'm sorry. I'm only joking.
I get you. Go ahead.
Pan Everfree, don't loot the Lolly Dragon. Tonal Designs, Yas Daddy Dank, greetings from Glasgow. Leonard Church, what if I don't find Nazi jokes moral, Dankula? Bearing Cab, Mitch is a weeb.
I don't even watch anime that much. Bearing Cab.
You're missing out, man. Leonard Church, murder actually harms a real person. We're talking about drawing art. This is a false equivalent saying dolls aren't real people. To immoral, yes, but no victim. David Laughlin, Louis, you mean the UK is not Japan or America? Pish posh and codswallop. I'll see your authoritarian government and raise you a weeaboo. Lyra, while lollies are almost as gay and degenerate as you, Marcus, fuck you, Lyra. You're not getting mod in the Discord. Will M, has anyone read It by Stephen King? There's a very specific scene in that book that includes kids. Should it be banned? It's fiction. I think we've already established that we're on the same page. The free speech zealot. So what if it's the age? Simulation means it's fine. Unless you think Milsim? What's Milsim? Oh, is that military simulator? Well, I'm assuming that's what it is. Flight sim in any simulation is also bad. No one is harmed. There's nothing to your argument other than obscene nonsense word. I've already established that I don't want it banned. Massive D, can you stop hosting pedos on this channel? Fuck. Adam Conrad, ask him if he would ban a completely normal of age-looking pornographic image with the label of this girl is 10. That's a conundrum.
If it's an actual image, you can actually figure out who the person is. It's just a question of, like, if you have an actual, like, model in the image, okay, how old is the model? There you go. That's whether it's legal or not.
I don't know. Right. See, obviously this is something I don't look at, but see in porn, right?
Yeah.
Do pornos exist where, like, it's clearly like illegal porn?
Yeah, it's age play shit. Yes.
Is that what it is? So basically, does porn actually exist of, like, obviously legal porn actress strutting around going, "I'm 10"?
Yes,
I mean, there's porn of, like, legal age actresses, like, in diapers, in cribs, rolling around doing, like, it's the most degenerate shit. But yeah, they are of age, and this kind of thing does exist.
Yeah,
maybe Hitler had a point. Right.
Burn it all down.
This is way off topic. People want to hear if you think it should be legal, not with the current law as currently. These were all back then. We've all established this now. Cake Skull, I think he was asking about the guilty plea discount in the UK. It's usually 25% of the sentence, but the judge can increase the base sentence. Leonard Church, how have you not learned European? If you let the government subjectively decide and punish what is wrong, you will regret it. Stop moralising to the government.
I agree.
Spectre 171. 2 guys I knew were prosecuted of holding lollipop themselves. Funny thing is, they were given 2 days community service and weren't made sex offenders. That's unusual because
see, that's the whole thing of this is that it's never going to be equally enforced.
This is the reason that's so strange is any sex crime in the UK, like no matter what it fucking is, you're on the sex offenders register. There's cases in Britain, and this is something that I don't agree with, where basically guys are drunk as fuck.
Yeah, they take a piss.
Yeah, they go for a piss, and then they get done for like. Yeah. I remember one thing that happened, like personally to us, like years and years ago, is we were all down Coatbridge and we were drinking, and we were all around 14.
Oh no!
Welcome to Scotland, right? So we were all drinking, we were all 14, so it's me and guys and girls, we're all around 14, 15, 16. A junkie comes up, starts mouthing off, we just start mouthing off back at the junkie, telling him to fuck off. As he's walking away, the junkie moonies us. He just like moons us and then like goes away. The cops arrested him, and see, because we were all underage, he got put on the sex offenders register for that. I don't really agree with that. He didn't. I don't think that's really a sex crime. Like, see if he came up to the 14-year-old girls and pulled his cock out, then that's different. But I think him doing that as a fuck you like that, there was no sexual element there. Do you get what I mean?
He's just being an idiot.
But there's also guys who've just been busting for a piss in public. They pull their dick out to piss, and then they end up in the sex offenders. I don't agree with that. Just to continue with these. Sorry, Critters bugging. What's your position on real child dolls? I'm not going to fucking touch that. I'm not even touching that. The Liamis, but she's 999 years old because anime logic. The free speech zealot. If you won't die in the hill of free speech, then you will die in the gulag of silence.
Yeah, I like that. I like that one.
Joshua Smith. It's degenerate filth, and these people should hang from a tree. The Thing. Hey Dank, who are these pedos? Lyra, guys, Stan Lee died. F. Lily 7, love you, Dank. Keep being badass. XOXO. That's finally something wholesome in this stream. Joshua Smith, Stan paid the price for having secret lolly drawings. Mitch's gainers killed Stan Lee. Great. We have this free speech by no means implies you must like or approve of a subject. That's true.
Yep.
I keep see how I hate people going. So if a guy walks down the street screaming "I hate niggers" at the top of his lungs, you would defend that as free speech, and I'm having to go, yes.
Yeah. Well, that I mean, the whole thing about racial slurs to me is so stupid, because it's like, there was once a time where no one was prosecuted for running around engaging in, like, racial slurs were commonplace in the United States, especially at one point in our history, going back like 40, 50 years. It was still commonplace, and they are still commonplace today. I mean, there's no fair enforcement of this. If I went up and called a black guy a nigger, I'm getting arrested for being menacing. But black people can run around screaming nigger as much as they want, and no one's getting prosecuted.
And some of them can say honky or whatever white epithet they want.
Sure,
they can get away with it.
My thing is that it's just, to me, it's just an absurd thing where, like, I don't think that anyone should be prosecuted for hate crimes, because they're never going to be fairly enforced. And
selective prosecution is what it's called. That's the term, selective prosecution. Like, even if I walk up to a black guy in the street and shout a slur, and then the black guy shouts a slur back at me, like, it doesn't. I'm the guy that gets arrested. Like, that's just the way it works. It's also it's also the same as well. Like female rapists do exist, and
they do. That's it's like the modern day fucking lunacy of the court system. Are like female child predators, especially in the fucking teaching system.
Yeah,
in the United States, is out of control.
Control everywhere.
This is the thing that's very, very different, right? See, see if a 13-year-old girl gets molested by like her 40-year-old male teacher, like everyone's like putting a blanket round her. The dad's going to fucking murder the guy.
There's already a fucking rope swinging from a tree.
Yeah, the whole town are going to lynch that guy. Like he is hanging, right? But if a 13-year-old boy bangs his 40-year-old female teacher, everyone, he's running around the class, they're high-fiving, they're fucking, hell yeah, man. And even if you go his dad's like, ah, fucking well in, my boy.
There was a case of that somewhere in the Northeast. It's all over the country, but I remember a case was recent of a woman that was prosecuted. It was a teacher for that. And it appeared to be not like legit, not age of consent, but specifically like non-consensual sex. Like she groomed him. She didn't go to prison.
Yeah, and even when
she just got off.
Yeah, and even when they do go to prison, people
got
make
off
excuses
twice.
for them.
Yeah,
yeah.
Dude,
I think it's
being honest, see, consent laws. Like, I think they're retarded because I know people in their fucking 20s who aren't mature enough for sex. I don't look at a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
They're looking for sex.
The age of consent laws, the reason why I think that they are a compromise, they are a compromise.
Yeah.
Because no one on earth reaches sexual maturity at the same age. Nobody. And the issue is, though, it's the same reason why we have contract laws, is we need to put down a hard age of when people can engage in certain behaviors, such as driving, owning firearms, et cetera, et cetera. And there are like libertarian / liberal / anarchist arguments for like, well, you should be able to own a shotgun at the age of 10 and blah, blah, blah. But the issue is that it's a compromise worth having because there must be some standard by which that we can have in terms of contracts. Because it's very easy to sell a little kid a fucking credit card.
Yeah, like kids are easier to convince, which is why laws exist so that like adults can't groom them.
Yes,
I get that. And kids are a lot easier to convince. But the case that is in Scotland, we have an extreme problem with very young single mothers and STDs among kids who are fucking retarded and don't actually know the ramifications or the proper protections when it comes to sex. Personally, I think 16's too low. If I'm being honest.
I don't know. I don't know if an actual like there is no objective standard. Right. So I've pretty much given up on that debate.
I'm not saying that on the grounds of pedos and all this type of stuff and exploitation. I'm saying it on the grounds of 16-year-olds are fucking stupid.
Yeah, so the age at which we let people have sex, it is somewhat arbitrary. People develop at certain rates, but we need some sort of pragmatic age number, we can say, in order to make any kind of enforcement. Because we don't want 10-year-olds running around signing legal contracts or fucking.
Yeah.
So we need a pragmatic number in order to be like, we can reasonably expect by this age you know what you're doing enough that we can let you do these things.
It's not just a matter of admission, like letting people. It's a matter of like exploitation. Because if, let's say, age of consent laws didn't exist, I could convince like let's say that I'm a pornographer, I could coerce or convince an underage person to sign a contract to be in pornography and hold them to a standard by which they didn't understand as they signed it. And they would be legally bound to fulfill that contract. I
have a solution. I'm going to bring this up at the next UKIP meeting. A sex license. You need to sit a written exam and just wait till you hear about the practical exam.
Jokes aside, I always err on the side of liberty and allowing people to make stupid mistakes.
No.
Children ruin philosophy because we need to keep making bullshit exceptions for them. And it's just like, we have these great frameworks for how society should run, and then children come and it's like, well, obviously we can't do that.
No, see, when you say allow children to make mistakes, I draw the line at getting accidentally pregnant, right? So young, and I'd also draw the line at exposing themselves to STDs that could be permanent STDs. Like I draw the line there, right? See how a 16-year-old, like, yes, you should let children make mistakes so that they learn, but you kind of have to draw the line somewhere. Like fucking see if your kid's playing out in the road because they're being stupid, and a bus is coming, you're not going to sit there and go, well, the boy's got to learn.
No. That I understand the point you're trying to make, but that's actually not fair because
it's just sex for me carries a lot more severe consequences. That's why.
To be fair, I think like that particular problem with the underage pregnancies that could be alleviated. It'll never be solved just by trying to keep the family unit together in some kind of coherent sense, you know.
Yeah, damage the 16-year-olds getting pregnant and becoming like single mothers because 16-year-old boys are like, I don't want to be a dad, and are fucking up the family.
It's like a vicious circle.
I don't think the state playing father is going to solve that issue.
That's not what I'm trying to say. I just thought.
No,
like,
I'm saying
you know.
I'm saying it towards Dank. I don't think that allowing the state to play daddy is going to solve that issue. Which
the thing is, you are. It's just age gating. That's what it is. You are allowed to do these things. You just can't do it until you reach an agreed upon age. Personally, I think 16 is too low. I think in fucking Germany it's 14. That absolutely,
yeah.
That's way too low.
In Mexico, it's 14 as well.
Nah, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all.
I take the position of, and maybe this is me being unsympathetic, but in terms of children making mistakes, getting pregnant, and the rest of that, I saw that more in high school than fucking middle school. But I think my position now is more towards social Darwinism, where it's like, well, that's your mistake. Good luck.
Nah,
I'm not having my tax dollars pay for your mistake. That's for you to own.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, some fucking 16-year-old gets fucking pregnant and becomes a single mother. She can claim so many different types of benefits. So over here, our tax dollars do go to pay for that. Our tax dollars go into the NHS to cure all the STDs these fucking stupid 16-year-olds are getting. Like, so yeah.
Well, there's two solutions. Like, I can recognize what you're saying, and the thing is, ultimately, I do sympathize with people having medical issues and making mistakes. I'm not a conservative. But the thing is that ultimately, as it relates to a lot of people, millions of people potentially looking to the government saying, help me, father, help me, daddy, help me. It basically comes down to a sliding scale of solutions, but ultimately the two sides being, don't worry, daddy, government is coming to help you versus, boot to the face, your problem. Go deal with it. And I think that more recently, I'm more sympathetic towards the government not giving you benefits for your mistakes. I don't think that encourages you to make better decisions in the long term.
Hold on just 2 seconds. I heard a noise.
Sure. Moreover, on the same point,
Never mind. Right, I didn't know what the fuck happened. Right, I'm fine. I'm doing a stream. I'll be back. Right. All right, okay. I didn't know what the fuck that was. It sounded like a fucking demon. Right. Bye, man.
The issue with the dogs?
No, I just heard some fucking creature of the underworld fucking screaming, and it turns out it was the puppy. But it's just he just got really excited while he was playing and just decided to fucking.
It was a twist. It's Purple Lackey.
What was I going to say about the state playing father? The state rewarding you for making bad decisions. I'm not really sure if I can understand, and I think that I can see the argument for it, and I think that I more morally personally agree on the idea of like the government providing everyone healthcare, like universality in terms of healthcare. I find to be their strong moral case for, but then you start getting down the road of people making bad decisions and the government just going, well, here's somebody else's money. More recently, I've started to realize that despite my own moral sympathies with universality, it comes with some very bad problems and encourages people to make bad decisions.
I don't think it's really the NHS that's encouraging them more the welfare state, because the NHS is just simply the healthcare part of our social security. I think really society should be trying to find a way to disincentivize these people. Whether or not that's
what they need is a father. Like
exactly.
What I think there needs to be more of nowadays is not government intervention. I think we need more fathers with a harsh belt that they can beat their children with, so that they could stop making poor decisions. Because I didn't even have that much of a disciplinary father, but I realized at a pretty young age that making stupid choices, doing stupid things was not going to help my life. And so I stopped making bad decisions. And I was a little shit when I was younger. I was like running around vandalizing buildings and vehicles and doing all sorts of things. And I was glad that in that case,
vandal.
Well, I was glad that I wasn't prosecuted for that, even though it was criminal activity. I had a sheriff, the sheriff at the time, come to my parents' house and say like, and I got sold out by the people I hung out with at that time. They basically tried to pin it all on me. And I had the sheriff come to my father and be like, well, we just need to figure out who's paying the bill. And that was my father who paid the bill. And I got severely punished for that vandalism. But I realized then, like, this is a bad idea. I should probably stop doing this. And to a large extent, I stopped being that much of a vandal at a young age. And I think that's what we need more of. I think we need less of the state playing father.
Discipline, like with kids, is extremely important. Like, see how everyone's trying to introduce the anti-spanking laws.
No, it's a bad idea. It's
a bad idea. Like, my dad used to fucking kick my ass when I was a kid, man. Like, see, but it was never, it wasn't a case of like I dropped a plate and then he would fucking Batista.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, it was a case of. And for me to get a real beating, like I had to have done something like really fucking bad.
I think that ultimately there's two reasons. There's I've seen cases that have been publicized of like famous people like legitimately beating their kids for no reason. Yeah. And you look at that and you see politicians in the state say, "Don't worry, we can solve it. Give us power and we can solve it." And the problem is that it never stops. Like.
Yeah, like Brad Pitt got into trouble of having a heated argument with his daughter in an airport. Like, he didn't even touch her. They just kind of squared up. That happens.
There's a sort of extent, like, see how the way it works in Scotland. Like, I know, I do have a fucking cheek to talk about this, right? But see how fist fighting is part of our culture, right? It's just the way it's done here. It's how differences are resolved. Two guys will beat each other up, then afterwards they'll shake hands and carry on drinking.
Yeah,
yep, that's in the north as well. Yeah.
But the way it works as well is, see, when I was younger, I got in a lot of fights. Not so much now. But it's a case of whenever I would get, pulled in with the school always, no matter what the reason for the fight is, the school would give you into trouble. The cops will arrest you. Because we used to actually have a willful combatant law, by the way, which is interesting to go into. Street fights were allowed as long as
they're still allowed in Texas, by the way. It's still allowable in state law in Texas to fist fight.
We should still have that here.
Yeah,
you're just not.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if people agree to fight, then it's not a problem. We already have means where people can agree to fight. I don't see a problem with like just opening that up to more people.
The only issue would be that I would say that like it would be hard to legislate exactly, but I would say that it should be legal so long as there's a witness who, once they intervene into the fight, that's when it's no longer legal.
Isn't there a state in America where as long as you do it in front of a cop, it's legal? Is that Washington?
It's the Millhouse rules. It's literally, if the opponent gives up, gets knocked out, or goes limp, then the fight's over, and that's it. And
that sounds fair.
That is fair. But like, whenever I used to get in fights when I was younger, my dad would always ask me why I got into a fight, and see if I didn't have a good reason. Like, that is when I got disciplined.
Yeah.
Which is why Scotland's weird, because most places would just yell at you for fighting, full stop. You're not savages. You don't do this. That's not how we settle our differences and all that type of stuff as well. But like, there was one time, like, there's fights. I got bullied in school, so I used to get into a lot of fucking fights because of that. But there was one time, right, which I did actually get in trouble for, was because there was a guy. I remember his name, but I'm not going to say it. He turned around and asked me, like, my dad was a firefighter his entire life. I can say that now because he's retired, right? But a guy, we were queuing up in the canteen, and the guy turned around to me. Have any of you ever seen the TV show Fireman Sam?
Yeah,
like, you're British, so you'll know it, right? Yeah. But what happened was, we were in the queue, and he turned around and said, "Is your dad a fireman?" And I said, "Yeah." And he went, "Haha, Fireman Sam." And I just started punching him. And like, even when I get pulled up to like the head teacher's office and all that, they're like, "Why did you hit him?" And I was just sort of like, looking back, I don't know. Like,
well, he was taunting you about your father.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, even looking back now, I'm just sort of thinking that's that wasn't even that bad what he did.
Well, you got bullied, so you kind of took out all that stress on him. Yeah, it always happens.
I did have a little bit of a hair trigger. Like, I think I must have just been having a bad day or some shit, and that's just what did it. And all that. But
he was unfortunate.
Yeah, so I got in trouble for that. My dad was just sort of like, that's not a good enough reason. Like, did he hit you? And I went, no. So then my dad scalped me up the side of my head and then sent me to my room. So yeah,
well, it might have been a deserved then, but I would say that that's a bit better than where we are in the United States now, because in New York State, I can say that, and I know this from my own understanding of like the different laws, especially at my so-called alma mater, my former high school. You can get expelled for getting in a single fight, and it's like a shoving match. You can get expelled for that. It's so beyond the pale at this point that I just wish that at some point somebody would bring it up. But unfortunately, that to me is like it's part of the lowly question. Is I can't stand the moral grandstanding around kids to where we need to have every kid sheltered and wrapped in bubble wrap until they hit fucking 18, and then they come out into the world, and it's completely different to what they were being told.
I do think that, and allowing children to make mistakes and see, the horrors, if you want to call it that, of the world, like there is an element where yes, you do need to, if the kid keeps running in the hall, you can't just prevent them from doing that and go, oh no, you'll skin your knee. Sometimes you need to let the kid skin their knee.
Yeah, it's
you do need to draw a line, like I said earlier, with the bus.
Sure. Well, I forget exactly. I thought of it, but I just forgot it. It's the notion of allowing the kid to touch the hot stove.
Yeah.
That basically they learn from experience, that something can burn them, something is hot. And I think that kind of exposure is good, because I can tell you that from my childhood, I was actually told the opposite. It was lectured to me from the administration, from my parents, more so my mother than anybody, to never get in a fight, never fight anybody, ignore your bullies. And if assuming that I have kids at one point, that's going to be the opposite of what I tell them. My solution is, if there's a bully that's fucking with you, fight them.
Yeah.
And show them that you're not a victim. And then they'll leave you alone. And the thing is what I can't stand is, especially about men. I don't know this is to me is more boys than girls. I got into scrapes a couple times in my early childhood with kids that were bullying me. We became friends. Like, if you would have kept us separate and they would have kept bullying me and we never would have fought, we would have stayed enemies. But we became friends. And that to me is one of the biggest misunderstandings of Western society, is that we try to separate the bully from the kids they're picking on.
Machismo I know it's like that in Scotland, right? But see, your ability to stand up for yourself and not be fucked with, like, masculinity is respected.
Yes.
It's a respected thing. Like, I know, like, see, for example, like, one thing that happens an awful lot in Scotland is, see how the little weak guy that won't stand up for himself, very, very rarely will someone come to defend him. People might pull him to the side and go, be a fucking man.
Yeah.
Be a fucking man and fucking fight back. None of us are going to help you. You fucking fight back. Like, you'll get words of encouragement, but very rarely will someone actually step in to stop a fight. Because like, we've seen that happen to people, and we're not going to step in and break the fight. We want him to get punched so much that he hits his fucking breaking point and actually stands up for himself.
Yeah,
like,
I agree. I agree.
But yeah, I'm going to power through some super chats.
Go ahead.
The thing, not pedos, walked in at the wrong time. Zachary, hey Dank, I'm writing an economics paper on Scotland. Anything you think I should put into it? Just wipe your ass on the fucking page, and that'll be a good representation of Scottish economics. Larian does things. Oh, that one get read out. Joshua Smith, charming man, looks like Dr. Bashir from Deep Space Nine. Sexy Russell, Stan Lee passed away at 95, press F. Lord Pterodax, speaking of spice, here's an incredibly dark joke. Grenfell, fire is coming. Virtual Armageddon, we should all band together to make children forever sleep. Problem solved. That's ominous. Critters bugging, this is to Louis. What do you think of child real dolls? People consider them art, but they are sex toys. Can you use the art defense for this art? That's a good question.
It's just a product. Don't buy it. I don't understand how you're going to regulate against it. That's not going to be the same as anything else, where it's just like, well, I, the arbiter, have perceived it this way, therefore, and that's just an authoritarian argument. You're
yeah. This is the thing is like one thing that I hope, right? This is a deep hope that I have, right? And have you ever heard of the Spring Hill disaster?
Ring some bells.
Right. Britain cracked the Enigma code during World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And they found out that the Germans were going to bomb Spring Hill. Right? Now, if the British actually did any defensive manoeuvres or anything to Spring Hill, like, the Germans would figure out that they'd cracked the Enigma code.
Mm.
So the British had to let it happen. Right?
yeah.
But ultimately, by them allowing that one immoral thing, they prevented so many more like horrible tragedies because they cracked the Enigma code and it helped them win the war.
Yeah, and there was a similar thing. It was not to do with cracking the code, but the Royal Navy went in to do something that was considered the worst thing they've ever done. That was to destroy the French fleet.
Yeah.
So that it couldn't be used by the Germans. Again, something we didn't want to do, but we had to do. Yeah.
Exactly. So like the thing I'm thinking as well is, and I pray that this is the fucking result. If lollipop is made legal, right, and it ends up being, you know, the number one consumed thing for pedophiles, that would mean, like, obviously we know there is a massive, probably multi-billion-dollar fucking market underground for actual child porn, right? See if lollipop get made legal and free and all that type of stuff, and then it ended up becoming the number one consumed thing, that basically that entire industry would just collapse and crumble.
Yeah.
Which means
Yeah.
world kids actually get saved. I'm not saying that. I'm not citing any data here saying that is in fact what would happen. But
No, we've seen it. I mean, what happened? It would be the example of prohibition and the mob. It doesn't kill it, but what it does is it takes away a major revenue source for criminals.
Exactly. Like,
and human traffickers right now are very big. They're very big in the black market. There's a lot of cartels and a lot of criminal organizations that specifically do human trafficking right now. It's very lucrative.
Well, that's the thing as well, is I've said for a while that prostitution should be legal.
Yes, because boom, there goes all human sex trafficking. Boom,
yeah, exactly. Gone. And it's also the fact is that what is it? I know they've done it in Amsterdam. It's very heavily regulated, although there are still, there's some girls that are being held there against their will, but they're down in that. And I think they've got the same thing in Australia as well, where it has to be like it's a legal brothel. The girls are protected, they're surrounded by security, tons of fucking security for the entire life. They get health benefits, they pay their taxes, all that type of stuff as well. There is benefits. Obviously, prostitution isn't something I would like to see happen.
It's the concept of you wouldn't want it to happen to your daughter.
Yes, exactly. Which is why we said the family unit's very important.
Yes.
So like the women need a male role model in their life so that they don't end up becoming that. I think the thing is, I think the fucking legalization of prostitution and brothels being everywhere would actually help reinforce the fucking family unit, because you
it would
take young fathers out to the brothels and go, do you want your daughter to end up?
Yeah,
better be a fucking good dad.
Yeah. I agree. I think that ultimately, if you incentivize parenthood, I think that it betters society. I think that the conservatives don't really the conservatives basically want it both ways. They want the state to play daddy on certain moral issues, but they also want to maximize the ability for parents to do their job. And I think that ultimately, in regards to prostitution, especially with prostitution, marijuana, et cetera, go down the line, pornography, I don't think the state is any kind of solution.
The thing is as well, one thing that we're seeing an awful lot is now, see how pornography, I treat pornography the same way that I would treat drugs and alcohol, where completely fine in moderation, but overindulgence can lead to problems, and unfortunately there are people out there who have very little self-control.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say, if you want to look for the biggest problem, it isn't even smoking and drinking. To me, and this is the thing, this is the whole thing with myself and the issue of lolicon, is that I'm more than willing to die on that hill, and I'm more than willing to die on, to me, which is the biggest thing that people are most addicted to, that's most destructive, gambling.
Oh yes, yeah. Fucking.
And I'll fucking die on that hill. I'll die on the hill protecting gambling. I do not believe that it should be regulated against. I find it laughably absurd. Yeah. But gambling is extremely addictive, and I've seen way more people that, smoking and drinking is destructive, absolutely. But the thing is that I find the biggest problem to be, and you see this anytime in my area when you walk into any kind of fucking convenience store, people just standing there, just scratching off tickets, lottery tickets for like a fucking hour. And it's like, wow, like this is watching a guy who is addicted. This just as bad as anybody that's addicted to heroin or fucking alcohol or is a chronic smoker or anything else. You're just as much of an addict. But I don't think that state intervention is going to save that fucking person outside of like, we're going to subsidize whatever, programs to try to get you unaddicted, to try to help you.
About one thing is just because I've seen this in the chat, people were saying like, see to me, lolicon is the sexualization part. See how like an actual lolly, like see if she's been portrayed like in an anime and shit like as a character. Like no, I'm not talking about removing children like from anime if they're like an essential character part of the plot and all that type of stuff as well. Like one of my favorite movies from all time is Spirited Away. The main character of that technically is a lolly. Like that would be like
dude, that's true for a lot of anime. That's true for a lot of anime. Just look at like Kill la Kill. But, by the standards set forth by the moral arbiters, Kill la Kill would be banned. It would be child porn.
Really?
Yes, it's underage.
I've not watched Kill la Kill.
Well, it involves scantily clad underage girls.
I've watched Footaboo because it's the funniest thing.
Jesus. Well, those girls are definitely underage.
Like, the thing is, though, people turn around and go, Footaboo, oh, it's so hot. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is the funniest fucking thing I have ever witnessed in my life. Like, see how hentai, see if it's just like two people having sex. I'm not fucking interested. Like, see if it's two gigantic robots which grow massive cocks and then start fighting and fucking each other. That is comedy. That is some fucking grade A shit, man. That is funny as fuck. Like, hentai as a source of comedy is fucking excellent, man. Like, have you seen Footaboo?
Yes.
Right, so funny.
I have not, but what I have seen are those.
Watch it, man.
I've seen those compilations of just clips of the dialogue from hentai manga where you're just going through like an album of all of the horrible dialogue that these characters do. And it's like, oh, pee in my asshole, daddy. And it's just like, it's pages of that. And I find that hilarious, just reading hentai dialogue.
See that one? It's like, you pissed me off, so I'm going to end your virginity right here and now. Man, like, stuff like that, that's funny to me. I'm sorry, that will always be fucking hilarious. Like, people made me fucking play Necopara as well, man. And, like, that was... Like, I was fine with it because, see, to me, even though they got it, yeah, okay, they're 9 months older, cat girls and all that, they look like 18-year-olds or at least young 20.
I don't know about that.
Or Louis Le Vau thinks they can't consent.
Maybe
of them.
Maybe it's because Scottish women just generally are quite small, right? But they look like 18-year-olds or like 20-year-olds to me, right? And I was fine with that. The part that I don't know if anybody in the chat remembers it. Does anybody remember the conversations that the main character had with his little sister? And she was a lolly to me, right? And some of the stuff that gets said in the conversations between them, that's when I got really uncomfortable on stream. There was no sex scenes or anything like that, but there was a lot of inference,
innuendo.
Yeah,
I would say the part that I actually used Nico Parra to argue that cat girls can't consent because they're basically in that particular visual novel, they are completely mentally deficient.
No, do you want to know the funny thing is as well? It's like, see, in the Nico Parra universe, and this is actually like fully explained, because they are classed as animals and not people, they don't have any rights.
Yeah.
Like, that was funny to me because they even nearly get arrested at one point for being out without their master. like shit like that. That's fucking funny. Like that's it.
It's like living in ancient Sparta or something. You helot,
Well,
where's your
it's
master?
it is in fact having like mentally deficient slaves.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't like it. I couldn't get into it. I legitimately disliked that visual novel.
I'm gonna just quickly go through these super chats again.
Yep.
Oily, remember that time Amos Yee called you authoritarian because you said you wouldn't let your kids play 18 rated games until they were older? Yeah, Amos Yee made a lot of interesting comments. Asgoth of Korea, work with convicted sex offenders. Access to simulated material is not an outlet. It actively contributes to their fantasies / rationalization. Okay. Don't know about that one. Again, that's data. That's something I would need to look at. Justin O'Toole, time to mention Chelsea Russell. You also said the N-word, Dag, so you could be arrested again, but then so should Diane Abbott. YouTube is gay. said if a lolly was born in 2008, but she's been in a Groundhog Day-esque time loop for 200 years, can you morally loot her, or does her body need to turn 18 too? What the fuck conundrum is that, man? What the fuck? Virtual Armageddon, class on sex today in my school, true or false question, only men can be rapists. I said obviously false. I was wrong. Hate that outdated law, fuck's sake. Lyra, age of consent to hold hands is now 18. Wanking is now illegal. Problem solved. I'll take my Nobel Peace Prize now. At some point, we need to be able to rely on parents to do their job. I'm not saying we should punish the parents, but maybe we should punish them. Well, fuck, that's a conversation.
Well, it's not a matter of punishing. It's just it's incentivizing them. And I mean, the big issue in the United States that conservatives have a very heavy case for is the issue of parentless or fatherless households, and how much of that is just the government like intervening, like doing its job. Like the state is actually trying to do what it's designed to do in terms of the welfare system, but all it does is guarantee the idea of fathers to just bounce and for mothers to just rely on the state. It's a terrible system, and unfortunately, we're heading down the road where, with specific groups in the United States, the only solution is going to be less state and not more state. Because the more state has been tried and it's not fucking working. And I'm saying that as someone who's not a conservative. It's an argument where I don't really see the path forward for anything other than, well, we're going to have to start making cuts. We're going to have to start trying different incentives, because the system we have in place now is creating entire generations of fucked up young people, especially young men, that are just aimless, and they seem destined bound to just prison or death.
And they commit the same mistakes.
Basically, we humans naturally adopt a hierarchy. I think deviation from that hierarchy fucks us up.
Sure.
Like the family unit is something that has existed for a very, very long time, before religion. Before religion. Like everyone says that, marriage and blah blah blah. You know, marriage is just a contract. You know, marriage in quotes, which is basically the bonding to a partner and then raising the children together. That's been around for a long time. That has been around for a while. I
think that marriage is it's that evolutionary concept. I would say, I think it's evolutionary based. It's just putting in a structure.
Yeah. Tim P. So imagine whose underage kids these three pedos think about when they wank it. Come on now, that's not fair. That's not fair. They're not pedos. Chunky Monster. Wasn't there an MP or someone who wanted to lower the age to 10 in the UK? I fucking hope not.
It was 14, wasn't it?
Was he a Muslim?
No, I think he was white, actually. Let's have a look.
Oh, by the way, really quick, we brought this up earlier of the Muslim issue in the UK, at least tangentially we did. And my whole solution for what's going on in Europe, or especially in the UK, is I don't think it's the issue of lowly or anything else with the Muslims. I think it's just self-defense. I think what you guys need is to loosen the gun laws. That's what I think solves the issue in the UK of like rape gangs and all that shit, of terrorism even. I think that solves a lot of the problem. Because if some Muslim comes at you with a knife and you just shoot him dead, okay, problem solved.
The thing is, we don't really have much of a culture anyway. Even when handguns and certain modern types of rifles were legal, most people were unarmed. Even in like the old days, like in the 1800s, the police never needed to be armed because the populace themselves weren't particularly armed. Like we just don't buy the guns even when they're
well,
legal.
I think that now is the time to get armed. Now is the time to develop a gun culture in the UK. You need it.
Look, you don't need.
In the meantime, David Duke's in the background wringing his hands together, going, "It's the Civil War, boys! The Civil War, the race war."
No, it won't be. It won't be. Trust me,
coming, boys.
It won't be.
You don't need a gun culture. All you need is to carry around defensive buckets of acid. There.
No.
Problem solved.
No. Or if you said pig's blood, maybe then I could agree. If you're carrying around defensive buckets of pig's blood, maybe then that would work out.
Oh, by the way, the person in the super chat was correct. Patricia Hewitt, former Labour minister, did advocate for that.
Former. Yeah. I wonder why that is.
I know.
Spooky weeb trash. Oppress me, daddy. The Liam is single mother welfare is buying votes. Yeah, it fucking is. Dr. Diddler, if I'd known they wouldn't arrest you in middle school for fighting, I would have been fighting a lot more cunts. Nothing more satisfying than beating the shit out of someone that's been bullying you.
Yeah. It's good for both of you. It's good for both parties.
It's a learning experience.
No, it legitimately is. It teaches the bully that there are consequences to that kind of behavior. And unless they're a psycho, and then they're going to do it anyways. But if they're not a psychopath or have some sort of fucking personality disorder, if they're just otherwise normal but engaging in bad behavior as a child, they can learn that there are consequences to engaging in that kind of behavior and reinforce the idea of not engaging in that behavior. And respecting the person they once bullied, they were once victimizing.
See when we're on like the ages of consent and all that type of stuff. See, when I was at the UKIP conference just there, a guy told me that he actually gave a talk at his university's ANCAP group meeting, right? And this was the thing that was brilliant. He basically was obviously speaking against ANCAP. It was like a debate type of thing. And he says that, ANCAP itself, as far as moral goods go, ANCAP society is pretty much what are morals, right? But he turned around and says, on a moral level, I don't think you should be allowed to sell heroin to 14-year-olds. And the crowd fucking booed him. Like, fucking hell, man. How is people still treating ANCAP with any kind of serious?
It's a pathological world. It is crazy.
It's utopian.
It's not just utopian. It's beyond that. I guess no, it is. It is. You're right. It is utopian. That is the perfect word for it, because you are obsessed with such a standard that cannot exist that you literally become irrational. They're incapable of having a conversation. I've seen it too many times with ANCAPs. They're just incapable of talking. They're crazy.
On my lawn, that violated the NAP, so I used my private army of child slaves to
You just assume that people will automatically abide by that.
No, what I love about ANCAPs is that, like, it's the funniest thing, because they don't even have a solution to this. Other than to kill the person. This is how you know it's a totalitarian ideology that's just masking itself as being free. There's always, and I said this to an ANCAP at one point with Sargon, that if Sargon and I are in a society where we're in the same society as the ANCAPs, we're in an ANCAP society, and we want a state, Sargon and I are going to form a state, what are you going to do to stop us? And the answer is you're going to kill us. That's how you stop the people that aren't ANCAPs, is you kill them. And how is that not just fucking communism? How is that not just communism?
What's to stop me from walking up to a guy just with a contract saying, I just bought you. I just bought you. I own you now.
Well, in practical terms, the whole thing with anarcho-capitalism is just going to be whoever acquires the largest standing army with the most amount of weaponry is the one that wins. That's ANCAP in effect.
Yeah.
And it just becomes autocracy. Which I'm willing to defend it in an end of world scenario or an anarchist scenario. I'm willing to defend autocracy, because at least it has hierarchy. It can actually be decent, unlike anarchism, which will just be like Fallout in effect.
I'm gonna just power through the rest of these, man. Yep. Not that many left. Rasmus Lindahl, honestly couldn't agree any less on this topic, but I grew up in Scandinavia, so our upbringing is very different. Children can learn to stand up for themselves without being smacked in the face. Jake of all trades, the fuck are you on about? I missed this whole stream, and what's up with the blue and red on the French flag? I don't know what that means. Jake of all trades, incentivization of parenthood is the welfare state. I'm not sure about that. Patrick Turner, is Louis DSP in disguise? I love that gif of him masturbating on stream. The Liamus, if Lolly Doll brings up more questions, there are adults that look like Lolly, so are they forbidden to have relationships? This stuff is complex. This is the thing, is I dated a girl who was very, very small and did actually look underage, even though she was in her 20s, because love is blind.
Well, the point with that is that to me is easy to define. It's just the matter of hard age. What is your age? I'm 21, I'm 18, I'm 19, whatever. Okay, that should be where the judgment ends, because at that point it's nobody else's fucking business.
Yeah, I think personally, I feel like when you are 18, like you are the master of your own destiny. You can. There are things that I will condemn, like see how people just going around and fucking everyone they see. I don't like that, but I wouldn't regulate it. Like that's the same thing as well.
You can just condemn it in your own right and say I don't like promiscuity. Stop being a whore. There you go. Just don't prosecute me for saying that. That I think is the
somebody said issue. In the chat, anarcho-capitalism is just money communism.
Money communism.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is in effect communism with the like, because that's the thing about communists is that they don't think that under their perfect system there is no money. That's actually what they believe.
There was a guy I was arguing with, like a full-on anarchist. This was ages ago, man. This wasn't long after the whole fucking like Nazi pug shit, and like we were on a stream together. This is back when I would get like 30 viewers or something like that, and we were arguing about. He says, you know, abolish the police, abolish the state. Everyone's just going to be a farmer living in little communes and like all this type of shit. And I just said to him, "What's to stop me from rounding up some of the boys and coming to your village and raping your women, killing you, and taking your shit? The other communes would band together against you." I was like, how do you know?
Yeah, that's a state. Congratulations, you have a state.
Yeah, but there's a case in the same breath. How do you know they don't plan on doing the exact same thing?
Yeah,
And then I was like, he was like, there wouldn't be men like you in an anarchist society.
Exactly, they would fucking kill you. They would kill you.
Men like me. Right, and then he ended up here going like, "Are you actually threatening me?" And I said, "What are you going to do? Call the cops? There are no fucking cops."
Yeah.
Although I had a conversation with some of my anarcho-capitalist friends, and they said there will be cops, but they're private cops. And I'm like, I work for coming to my aid when I need them.
Order and hierarchy in this anarchist society. Fascinating.
What I love about the whole thing of like, oh, there's going to be like, there's a lot of people that legitimately believe that private armies and private police and all the rest are better than actual police departments and like public services. The issue is that I've worked in two corporations. I've worked in a private military contractor, and I currently work for a private sector agency. And I can guarantee you that who we serve are those that buy us.
Exactly.
Pay us. We don't work for anybody else.
There's nothing stopping anybody.
Right? In an anarchist society, people would pay for security agencies rather than it being tax funded.
And the thing is, if I had the money, there's nothing...
Okay, go, Mitch.
Sorry, I'm just going to say, there's nothing stopping me from then paying off those cops that are protecting you so I can then kill you.
Yeah.
There's nothing...
Carry on, sorry, I'll shut up now.
In the same vein, there's nothing stopping you from paying off, like, cops that are paid by the government. Like, the cops that are here now... They do their job because they get paid.
But there's also an issue of legitimate authority that are imbued in most of these people that ultimately believe in it. There's not many cops that join the police force. Very, very few that think, I'm just doing this for the paycheck. Because policing in the United States does not pay very well. You make more money joining Academy or Blackwater than you do working for the U.S. military. Same goes for anything else.
Haven't Blackwater changed their name now after all
They've changed it. They've changed it about 5 times, but they've settled on Academy.
Academy.
The executive outcome still exists, by the way. Executive outcome still fully exists, even after that whole Zimbabwe fiasco. They're actually on the list for Mad Lads, by the way.
Is that the organisation that had Margaret Thatcher's son, or was that a different thing?
Margaret Thatcher's son was literally one of the financiers for a fucking mercenary corp to fucking do a coup. Fucking coup.
I might suggest to you, if you want to look up some more Mad Lads, and they actually included this weirdly, although they're pretty stupid in Red Dead Redemption 2, is you might want to do a Mad Lads on the Pinkertons, like the actual detective agency, because they were fucking crazy.
All the Untouchables.
Yeah, I guess so. But more so in the case of the Pinkertons, because private military contractors and private detective agencies, like back in the day, they were just thugs. And they were just fucking murder people. And they were crazy. So
I'll tell you were good individuals for that. Charles II, he was a proper mad lad. And then you've also got Oliver Cromwell for a controversial one. That would get some views.
I'm not going to deny or verify because I don't want to reveal the list. I kind of
a
half and half surprise and all that. But I have a fucking fat list, man.
I'm unsurprised that that's like the best part of your channel now. A lot of people like those videos, including myself, and it's because they're educational and also entertaining.
It's because all the free speech stuff I did, it was never good news. It was never ever good news. Here's what went wrong this week. Like and subscribe. Man, that's all it was, and I was just getting dead sad. So I'm happy that I now have a positive outlet now, man. So yeah, I'm enjoying the fuck out of doing Mad Lads.
That's good because there appears to be plenty of them to cover.
Fucking, there's no shortage anyway. I'm just going to catch up. I'm nearly fully caught up in the super chats. Wally World X, it's dumb. Decriminalise prostitution and drugs should be conservative values. I believe in conserving personal liberty. Hashtag liberal conservation. Wire Monster, the sound clips. Yeah, you're going to get a good few sound clips out of this stream. Mr. Twisted Frenzy, I think it's a fallacy to try and kick an addiction. In my opinion, the best thing you can do is try to replace an addiction with another less damaging one. Then people do need outlets for certain things. Say, for example, if someone's had a traumatic event. Remember when Milo's, infamous conversation with Joe Rogan? Milo got attacked for his comments, but one of the things that he got attacked for was the jokes he made about his own molestation.
Yeah,
that's when I'm like, whoa, hold on, no, right? See, if a person has had a traumatic event happen to them in their life, I advise they joke about it because comedy is a way to deal with horrendous things.
Yeah,
most people turn to fucking drugs, alcohol, and stuff. Comedy is literally the healthiest option.
That was really I made a video back in the day defending him after that whole attempt to destroy him right around when he was going to go to CPAC. That to me was one of the biggest ridiculous things. There were people that flat out left it alone, that said, "Oh, I don't want to defend Milo in this," but it's listen, the guy is trying to deal with the fact that he had something incredibly bad done to him. How are you should he just shut up about it? Should he just be silent about the fact that he was traumatized? What the fuck are you even saying? It was unbelievable what happened then, and the fact that he was attacked for it when it's this is just him with an outlet to what happened to him. How are you sitting there judging him? And what would you do instead of what he's doing now? And it's just it was ridiculous.
Using comedy for traumatic events in your life is, see, how many people are in here, 2,500. If you've had a horrific event happen to you, I advise comedy as an outlet. It's actually, it makes it a lot less scary. See, if something could be subject to comedy, it totally dulls its blade. Trust me. Just trust me on that one. I've got another one here. Absolute moron. Did you hear what happened to Jack Buckby? Yeah, that was some bullshit. Antifa basically lied about him and got him banned from America, which is disgusting. Aye. Basically, Antifa just talked shit and got him banned from America. Scott Trelaw, meme me daddy, hashtag say no to lolly. Doom Dodgers, roses are red, violets are blue, traps are gay, and so are you. Ban him. I'm only joking. Don't actually ban him. The Thing, get a crop duster, load it up with pig's blood. Daniel Jacobs, pow, right in the kisser. Jake of all trades, the payment by the state to single parents who don't work is incentivization to have kids and not work. Kekistani armourer. The funniest thing is that these anarchists think no one will have guns. Guns are easy as hell to make. Those with guns get what they want.
They actually are. It's pretty weird. I've seen somebody, like, there's videos of that on YouTube of people like building their own guns. It's actually surprisingly easy to not make a good gun, but to make a gun, an actual gun, like with bullets you made yourself.
I think with a lot of anarcho-capitalists, I think they accept that people will have guns, but they don't seem to accept that somebody will probably use that to band together and create another state.
Yeah,
but like people do crave order of some kind, like security. See how when it's the case with the whole, you know, people who sacrifice freedom for security, you know, that whole quote. Like people do want an element of that because that is a natural instinct. Basically, you want security for yourself, but it's a case of, you know, to what extent. Though, like I believe the state should exist. I believe the police should exist, but I believe they should exist in the minimum requirement of they're there to protect your rights, and that's it. If it's a case of, that man said something mean to me, it's like, well, you can fucking deal with it then. Be a fucking.
The thing is, a lot of these anarchists seem to think that the old tribal orders that we used to be a part of in hunter-gatherer societies were these anarchistic societies. No, they weren't. They had borders, not in the modern sense, but they had territory, and they had hierarchy. There was a man, or if you're in the rare case of a matriarchy, a woman who was the head of the tribe or the state, and they had people under them who would work for them. Like,
I think this is
sorry, that just to touch on that is actually a true thing. Like, men became the tribal chieftain through physical prowess because that's what men were seen as. Women actually became the tribal chieftain through intelligence. See if someone could repeatedly make good decisions that the tribe recognized, like always benefited them, that person would then be seen as an authority. And it was that way that women would actually end up becoming a leader in some fashion. Like that,
or manipulation.
Yeah.
I think that even now,
the dawn of civilization.
I think that one of the things that a lot of people in our politically correct times that they want to set aside is the fact that most women naturally are manipulative.
Patrick Turner, ideology is the ultimate form of escapism. #MeToo. Doom Dodgers, Countdown Killer for Mad Lads. Millsy Live, Happening Shagger, Dr. Diddler, as if today wasn't bad enough, R.I.P. Boogie. The late Amis, you can 3D print guns now. There we go, we've actually finally caught up. But yeah, did that guy, you know, speaking of lolly, did that guy not end up getting arrested because he get fucking lolly trapped? A girl told him that she was 18 and he slept with her, and it turned out she was 16. Don't quote me on that. I've not looked.
Well, that's another thing that happens is people lie about their age and they have sex, and then that to me is like a little bit separate because it actually deals with a real person. It deals with the issue of statutory rape and age of consent. But that's another thing where, like, I understand the reason why we have those laws, but it's like I really don't think this is my whole thing with even going back to what we were talking about with policing in the state. Like, I think that we're all naturally moralistic. We all want to morally grandstand. We all want to punish the immoral people, but we need to be ever vigilant about trying to defend liberty because it's very easy to just wash it away for the sake of some moral grandstanding. And I don't trust anybody that morally grandstands. I don't trust anybody who does that. I always think that there's an ulterior motive, that they're trying to get something out of it. They're trying to promote themselves, because there's a ton of that in the United States. Because the thing is, through my own family, to some extent, limited extent, but through my friends, like, I know 5 prosecutors and they're all the fucking same. Like, go to Wall Street, look at people that are utterly ruthless, like corporate climbers, politicians. The exact kind of same people are prosecutors. It's unbelievable how many I've met that I find to be like legitimately immoral people who don't give a shit, that are they're there to basically promote themselves. They're really weird. Yeah, well, dude, they're not like lazy or like they're very hardworking, but they're so driven by the idea of, I'm going to have 100% fucking conviction rate. I'm going to do this. And they're just driven to win. And that's what I mean. Like, you find the same kind of people on Wall Street. They're just utterly ruthless and they have no scruples. It's an unfortunate oversight with our system that so many prosecutors are just ruthless politicians.
I think we have our activists, judges, and juries, but I'm not sure if the prosecutors themselves are politicians.
In the United States, they absolutely are. That's who the fat guy was. That was the governor in New Jersey. That's what he was,
Christie?
a prosecutor. Christie, Chris Christie. He's a prosecutor.
I think on that note, I'll read these last couple of super chats.
Oh, I'm going to be a normie and just ask, what's the origin of the Rip Boogie thing?
Oh, no, it's fake. R.I.P. Boogie's a meme.
I know it's a meme, but I just don't understand it yet. That's all.
Because he looks like he's going to die at any moment.
Well, he's getting better, though, technically.
We're impressed he's made it this far, you know, type of thing. It's just, Boogie, but just to quote a Louis C.K. joke, Boogie is trying to lose weight so that when Boogie actually dies, people ask, what happened?
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll read these. Your mum gay. Red Dead Redemption 2 is honestly the best game of 2018 now that I've finished it. Kekistani Armourer, you legit only need a hacksaw, a file, and a pipe. It's obviously modified homemade guns. An Irish Sniper, 136. Do a Mad Lads on Michael Collins, the squad, and how he loaned money to communist Russia. That seems interesting, right? But on that note, we can stop this now. All good. Right, no worries. Thanks very much for coming, everyone.
Okay, can I have a final word before we close the stream?
Are you going to make fun of me? Yeah.
No, I wasn't going to do that. So, in regards to the accusation that we're defending Lolly because we are pro-pedophile, I would like to put that to rest. I am not pro-pedophile. I'm pro-hate speech. I'm defending Lolly so I get to the hate speech. I want to call people niggers. I don't want to watch Lolly. That's a difference. Please respect that.
See, the problem is you don't have a Southern twang, so no one really gives a shit about that. No one's going to take that too seriously. You're not going to get a fucking Right Wing Watch article written on you.
Not yet, anyway.
All right. That's all I wanted to say.
Right, everybody's. Thanks, guys.
All right.